Hello and welcome everyone to unboxing Umbraco 11 this time. It's a big day. It's a new major release for Umbraco. It's been just around 6 months since we did the last major release, and we're ready again. And today it's not just the CMS. We've got a ton of other interesting things to show off. So I've invited a couple of my wonderful colleagues to help out with this. Bjarke is the head of CMS at Umbraco and core team lead. He'll be taking us through what's awesome in .NET 7, which is running on Umbraco 11. We've got Sofie, the queen of the ducks at Umbraco, and we've got Niels UI and UX extraordinaire to show us the new property editor that's included with Umbraco 11, the block grid editor. So a very, very exciting agenda, I think. My name is Rune. I'm a product communications producer at Umbraco, and I might demo a thing or two later in the show as well. But I think we should start out from the beginning with the big lines. Bjarke, Umbraco 11 is here. Why is it awesome, and why should people upgrade or start new projects on it?
Yes, it's awesome because it runs on .NET 7, which is the latest version of the framework from Microsoft. It was released just 3 weeks ago. .NET 7 brings a lot of performance improvements again. It's the same trend every time they release a new version. I saw when they presented .NET 7, they talked about more than 1,000 performance-related pull requests, which is twice as many as .NET 6, which was also an awesome release with a lot of performance improvements, which again was twice as many as .NET 5. So it's really a big focus point from Microsoft's point of view, and it's cool because it's driven by their open source community.
Yeah, and in the release blog post for Umbraco 11, we also linked to a performance blog post from Microsoft, and I think it's 16 pages long or something like that. It's very, very detailed. So that'll be a slow read about the very, very fast new framework, I think.
Exactly, but it's a lot of low-level performance optimization that you will just benefit from without doing anything special, which is cool.
Fantastic. What else is there? Is there anything specific to Umbraco?
To Umbraco, you said the new block grid editor, but otherwise it's actually a fairly small release because we managed to ship the language variants or permission for language variants as a minor version. And this is our goal, to make the major releases as small as possible and easy to update. So it is definitely the easiest ever to update on. But because we are running on .NET 7, we also have access to C#11, which is also completely new with a lot of new features. I'll try to share my screen.
Yeah,
I created a single file here. Maybe I can make it a bigger. So
that's nice.
This is full of all the new features, but otherwise it don't really make sense. But now we can make generic attributes. This was not possible in .NET 6 and thereby in Umbraco 10. We have a new keyword called required, which is super awesome. So you can't, I use this class here with required. I can't initialize it without specifying all the required properties. This is a really useful addition, especially together with nullable reference types, which we introduced in Umbraco 10, and it was introduced in C#8 or something like that. There's also a new, so you can have file scoped classes, which is instead of public or internal, you can now just, it's only visible within this physical file. That could be relevant sometimes where you today use inline methods or something like that. We can now make new lines in these string interpolations. So before this, all this needed to be on a single line and thereby a bit more unreadable. So a small change, but just makes your code base more maintainable. And finally, we have something called raw string literals, which is really cool, really a good feature. You'll most likely only need it once in a while, but when you do, it really makes your code base more easy to read. So now I can add 3 or more quotes, and then the message actually starts here. So all the white space in front of the ending quote tags are ignored, but the indentations inside are used. And the cool thing here is also I can have quotes, so it makes the text way more readable. And as I said, at least 3. So if I need to write 3 quotes, then I can also extend this to just have 4 quotes. Or if I need 4 quotes, I can extend it to have 5 and so on. So a small feature, which is quite cool.
I absolutely love it. Like sometimes if you've seen JSON being sent in .NET and all the escaping that goes on in there, they're like stuff like this is just incredibly useful. It really makes the code base potentially way more readable.
Yes, I'll just try to copy it inside an Umbraco 10 project. Then you can see the file is just completely broken. So this is not possible. Required is not possible. File is not recognized. So
yeah,
all these new things are available if you run on .NET 7 and thereby run in Umbraco 11. I think that is the cool things I would present from C#, but there's a lot of low-level changes also. So all the math libraries are now generic. It's not something we use, but it basically just makes the entire language more useful and more extendable.
Yeah, and just because we don't use it, that doesn't mean that other people don't, or some of the libraries that we reference might use it and stuff like that. So it is really improving for everyone.
Yes. So other changes, we updated all our dependencies. So all the dependencies to Microsoft extension NuGet packages have been updated to the latest versions, which now includes nullable annotations. So if you are using nullable reference types, this works even better. It improved our own code base with all the identity stuff, which is now better supported with nullable reference types. The web framework have been updated to ASP.NET Core 7. And like always, we need to update these web frameworks because they're so massive and development in browsers nowadays. I see a new major version of Chrome for every 50 days. And there's a lot of new features that need support in the web framework, so we need to update those. Most of the changes this time is related to performance. Also outside of the code base, there's new access to HTTP free, which is also completely new. We just started talking about HTTP 2, but now free is ready. And there are some cool new features like output caching, rate limiting, if you have an endpoint that you don't want to use all your power of your machine, which is pretty cool. And the final thing I think is cool is support for nullable models in the eraser templates. So again, more improvements to nullable reference types. Other dependency updates on the front end are like tiny MCE, which is the library we use for rich text editors, have been updated from version 4 to version 6. The good thing is the data that it produces is exactly the same. So we don't need migrations here, but it is a major version with breaking changes. So if you're using the APIs yourself, you will need to adapt to these new APIs. it's fairly straightforward. We just follow their guidelines from updating from 4 to 5 and 5 to 6. So
yeah,
you need to
they
do
have
the same thing.
They have good migration docs for updating that stuff. So it's just for people that are doing custom plugins for the rich text editor in Umbraco. You will most likely need to do an update of those as well to fit the new framework. But I think it also comes with a ton of performance improvements for the rich text editor itself, as well as some UX tweaks and things like that. So a nice update all around.
Yes. Other updates are related to image shop. We isolated our dependency on image shop. I'll just share my screen again. So the way it works is basically our NuGet package is just a media package. So it doesn't include code itself. It just points on 4 other dependencies. So instead of having a direct dependency on this, you could have a dependency on image shop. You could have on persistence, SQLite, and persistence SQL Server. And finally, targets. So this is basically the same. I didn't change anything here. But now I have direct access to the image shop. If I don't want to use image shop, I can just remove this dependency. I can implement my own. And if image shop are shipping a new major version, we can now basically ship an umbraco.cms.imaging.imageshop free, which you can opt in to use. We can't change the default because that's a breaking change, but now we can actually let you update, which is cool. And yeah, as I said, use something completely new if you want to implement your own implementation of what image shop does.
Yeah, but this is actually really it's really cool because there are cases where there could be a security thing that's fixed in one of these packages, right? Which you might not worry about, but there are some cases where it is absolutely needed that you get that upgrade, and that was sometimes difficult in earlier versions of Umbraco, right?
Exactly, and it is a pattern we want to use even more. We also did it for SQLite and SQL Server. So if you remove the dependency on SQLite here, Umbraco don't know anything about SQLite then, and when you install, you won't have the option to choose SQLite anymore. And that's a good way to do it, we think.
Fantastic.
I think that is my updates for Umbraco 11.
That's some pretty good updates, Bjarke. It's looking really nice. And I think just there are some really good reasons to stick to the latest version of Umbraco, get it upgraded. As you said, many of the things you might not even notice, right? But you get all these performance benefits, support for latest versions of browsers and things like that. So it's just, it's a benefit for everyone. So really cool. All right, now shifting gear a little bit, maybe to the back office. Niels, I think you have a little demo for us of something that is new and much anticipated, finally shipping with Umbraco 11.
Finally, it's here. Something for content editors and developers as well. Because now I'm happy to hear that's happening, something great for developers, but now we're also doing something for content editors. So that's going to be really nice. Let me just share my screen as I have some slides to follow with this demo. So Rune, as you said, there's a new feature in V11. The block grid editor is here. And in the coming 10 minutes, I would like to give you a good idea about what we can accomplish with this, what it means for you as a developer, and what it means for your content editors. And as you might already recognize from the name, it's quite similar to the block list editor. And that's because they are based on the same technology. But the main difference is that this property editor enables blocks to assemble a grid layout. So let's look at what that means. And to do that, I want to compare with the block list editor. So on the left side here, we have the block list editor, which enabled content editors to create blocks in a list in a one dimension on top of each other, sort them and arrange them like that. But what the grid does differently is that it enables blocks to have a set size. And by giving a block a size, we make room for other blocks to go next to them. So with that, we can actually start assembling layouts, just similar to what you're seeing here. But that's not the only thing the grid can do. The grid also enables blocks to host other blocks. So to see what this means in back office, let's jump over there and have a look.
Demo time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, demo time. So here we have a block list editor, just the one you know, with the 3 blocks inside. And if we took that exact configuration and content and put into the block grid editor, you'll see that there's not much of a difference actually. So that way you can assembly similar experiences. But where this starts becoming different is if I start making content with blocks that has a smaller size than full width. This small image block is spanning 3 columns, sorry, and this block grid is configured to span 12 columns. So 3 columns out of 12 is a 1/4 or a quarter. So that enables these blocks to go next to each other. But that was a block that has a fixed size. We can also give blocks multiple sizes and thereby enable our editors to scale them. Here I'm adding a scalable image. I've been very creative with the names here. And you can see what changes from the other blocks is that now we have the ability to scale the block with this little handle, the bottom right corner. And this one has been configured to scale both to 3 columns, 6 columns, 9 columns, and 12 columns. So with that, we can start having layouts like this, similar to what we saw in the example. This is great if we have content that is okay to mix up, but maybe we want to put content in different parts of our layout. And this is where the ability to nest blocks come into play. Here I've added a block called 2-column layout, and I've added 2 blocks in the left side and some other blocks in the right side. Let me just try to make that happen so you can see what's going on here. I'm adding a block called 2-column layout, and that has 2 areas within it. And each area is a grid on its own. And that enables me to put content within those, just as another instance of the block grid editor. Yeah. Yeah, what to add about that? Maybe not so more, but as you can see, you are able to structure content with this, but it's maybe not super interesting to look at. So now I want to show an example where I've used custom views to assemble a website. Let's maybe look at the website. The website actually also has a front end. And this project will actually soon be available for you as well to play with. And let's look at how the editing experience is for this project. So here we have the home page as we saw before, and that consists of a hero block. And that hero block has a custom view that enables us to see how it will look in the front end. And down here, we have a 2-column section, similar to the one we just created before in the other example, but now it's more visual that we have some content in the left side and some content in the right side. Yeah, and what's great about these areas is that I can easily drag content from and to them. So let's look a bit at the hero up here. The hero has a background image and a headline. And sometimes we want the content editor to be able to add some extra stuff to it. In this example, we have a call to action button in the hero. That's been made available through an area of the hero. Similar to the 2-column section down here that has a left side area and a right side area. And that, by using the areas in this way for smaller components and making the smaller components into blocks, we're actually able to rearrange content. So in this example, I can take that call to action and put it over here, or I can try to see how does it look if I have a text up here.
It's awesome.
So this really enables our content editors to rearrange and lay out their content in much more free ways than we've done before.
And you still have all the benefits of being able to drag and drop and edit the items and all of that you have with normal blocks. All of that is still preserved.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, maybe I have to show that. Yeah. And yeah, the main benefits of using an area for this is that typically we would have enabled content editors to make such call to action button by some extra properties on the hero that was optional. But here it's instead an area and you can drop stuff into it. And as developers, we are of course able to configure what is allowed to go in and how much of it do we want.
Yeah. So you could say that you can only add buttons and text here, and maybe not add images in the hero, for example. So we really have control over things there.
And we can also enforce single things, like we can enforce one button and one text, for example. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Let's have a look at how this can work if you add custom views to your blocks as well. Sorry, how this can work if you add scaling to your blocks as well. So here we have a scenario of some where we have some cards that are promoting other content. This is one big area where several cards has been added in. The cards can come in two sizes. They can either be this big size or this small size. So what is really great about the ability to scale is that we can easily try out and see how does it look if we have if this card goes to become the big one. How does it look if this one goes in small? We can easily rearrange to see when we get the layout that we were looking for. And this also shows how the custom view can be reactive towards the size it's being made in. I don't know what else I want to say about this. Maybe one thing to note is that this example here is using the complete same style sheet as we see on the front page. That just makes the life easier for developers.
Wow, I mean, I can only say that as someone who works in the back office quite a lot, this looks really exciting. Awesome work.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's it for now. And maybe I have to mention that this example website will be available, and I think we'll put a link in the blog post.
Yeah, and of course there's a lot more to it. There's a whole configuration side of things that's actually really interesting. That's been a great UX and UI exercise in its own right to figure out how to construct or structure this configuration side of things. But there'll be a lot more content about this. I think you're joining Umbraco Coffee on Friday to demo things. And we'll have blog posts, deep dive blog posts that really go into how developers can configure and set up the block grid editor for different scenarios as well. So there will be a lot more to come on that side of things. Yeah, and of course, there's extensive documentation as well, but maybe we can have a little look at that a little bit later in the video.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but fantastic. Hopefully you are excited now and want to go try it out.
I want it. That's all I can do. Yep. So the next thing, also coming, we could say, along with Umbraco 11, is a new way of displaying and discovering packages for Umbraco. A couple of years back, we started talking about a more, an approach to composable DXP, talking about the whole ecosystem of integrations and packages for Umbraco and how this could be presented in the best possible way. And together with Umbraco 11, we are launching a new website for Umbraco packages, and we can take a little sneak peek at it today. So this is the Umbraco Marketplace. You won't see the beta tag up here. It is we are cheating a little bit, so we're recording early. But the Umbraco Marketplace is here, and this is where you can search and discover both Umbraco packages and also tech partners and integrations that work really well with Umbraco. All of that will be searchable on the new website located at marketplace.umbraco.com. Pretty easy to remember. Now, having a website is one thing, but what's also cool with Umbraco 11 is that it's actually included in the back office as well. So when I go to the packages section, you'll see that now we've got the new marketplace discoverable directly from the back office as well. And it's actually the exact same as you see on the website. So there's really no changes to this at all. So whatever you do as a package developer and put up on the marketplace is also what you'll see in the back office, and it's easily browsable from here as well. And I guess the final thing to note on this is that it also ties into to what we have on umbraco.com. You might have seen that we have a marketplace there, or had a marketplace, I should say. So that was located at umbraco.com/marketplace. That's gone now. And now this is a place where we can show our tech partners and integrations and packages then live on the new marketplace. But you can also dive into that in the blog post as well. So I think it's really cool, looking really good. And it's also worth noting that this is just the beginning for the marketplace. There is documentation for how to set it up. You can find that on the marketplace itself. And then there's also an issue tracker. So if you have great ideas for what to do with these packages and the marketplace itself, or if you find any bugs, you can report them there as well. So I think it's looking really great. And I guess one of the things to note here is also that it ties really well into the whole NuGet ecosystem. So it actually gets the information about the packages directly from NuGet listings, and you can then enrich them with descriptions, some documentation, images, and so forth. So I think all around a really great showing. Cool. And that's not all. Also alongside Umbraco 11, we have even more new stuff that we are launching today. Sofie, I think you might have a little something to show us.
Yeah, sure. So let's talk documentation.
Indeed.
Yes. So we've already talked about that this is a pretty minor major. That also means that there is not a lot of new documentation. But let me just share my screen here and show you what I've got. Yeah. All right. So we've made an article, breaking changes article, similar to what we did for Umbraco 10. which basically lists all the breaking changes, funny enough. Also some references to the TinyMCE. We have some links to the migration guides for 4 to 5, 5 to 6, as mentioned as well earlier in this video. Yeah, but other than that, not much new docs, except for, of course, documentation.
It looks
for
nice,
the block
though.
grid. It looks nice,
Yeah.
you think? Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, we have a new block documentation platform. Maybe I should have started there, right? So we're saying bye-bye to good old Hour, and we're moving over to this new platform. So yeah, that's super exciting. And I can actually show you in this block grid article some pretty cool new features that this new platform allows us to give all the docs users out there. If we jump down to some of these, notice all the deep links in the right-hand side as well. It's pretty neat.
It's very nice for long articles.
Especially for this one, it's a long one, Niels, but it's a good one as well. So, so one of the things is that we can add a file name to the code sample, so you actually know which file to put the samples into. I think there can be some confusion around that if it's not mentioned in the text. And similar to that, we can also add, let me just skip down to it, add line numbers. So that also makes it easier in the text around it to reference specific parts of a code sample if it's a long one like this one is. So yeah.
Amazing.
We are
it looks
super
really good.
excited. Thank you. We think so too. But yeah, that is all new docs from Umbraco 11. We've also tried to revamp our upgrading guides so it's a little more generic instead of having to use the version specific all the times, because with these new minor majors, there is not a lot specific to upgrade for these versions. So we've tried to make the articles here more generic, and then have a little tabs, a table here showing you what's the dependency on the .NET version and so forth. So that should hopefully make it a lot easier to upgrade your project to the next major version. And similar, we've updated the one for cloud updates as well to make that more generic and simpler, hopefully, to follow. But this is a new platform, so we're trying out new things. So any feedback is much appreciated.
Yeah, and speaking of feedback, how does that work? Is it still open source? Is it still available on GitHub? It is still
Business as usual, I guess we can call it. There is a fine little button up here in the top right corner of every article. If you click on that, you're sent directly to Gitbook, where you can edit and suggest changes to the article. I do believe you need to fork the documentation first, but we have some contribution guidelines for it as well that you can find all the way down here in the docs. So business as usual, like it was
docs on docs
with our. Yes, gotta have some docs on docs as well. Yeah. What else to say about this platform? Yeah, so another way to give us feedback is to rate the article that you have been reading. So there are these 3 little smileys that you can pick one off and then let us know what you think.
Yeah, it's another great way of getting feedback on how helpful the different articles are. That's really nice.
So we have a tool that we can then compare the number of views in an article to the number of or to the feedback we've gotten on it. So if it has a lot of poor feedbacks, then we know, and a lot of views, then we know we might need to take a look at that article. There might be something up.
Yeah. Is there anything specific to say around versioning? I think that has changed a little bit, right?
Yes, that has changed a little bit. So first of all, the new platform here is only Umbraco 9 and later versions of Umbraco. So if you're running Umbraco 7 and 8 still, then you will find your documentation on Hour, where it used to live. But for 9 and later versions, so Umbraco 11, you will find your docs here. And there will be a little version drop down up here where you can choose the version. So right now it it doesn't look exactly like it will look for you if you go to the site now. But this is also because we have another little project coming out later this month. But yeah, the versioning is site-wide now and not specific to the article that you're viewing like it was on ours. So that's also super exciting.
Looks amazing. Huge improvement. And where can people find this?
Oh, docs.umbraco.com.
Makes sense.
Simple enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. So.
All right. I think we talked a bit about dependencies before. We also have a few add-ons that some people depend on, and there's been some updates in that regard as well. Bjarke, I think you have something to show us there.
Yes. So of course we also update all our add-ons, forms, deploy, etc. And we actually made a change in the CMS that is pretty cool for the add-ons. I'll just show my screen. So if I add a dependency to, say, forms, just before I build, I will look at the app settings file. Usually we had suggestions here, like we have for the CMS, but those suggestions for forms and deploy was based on the latest release at the time of the CMS release. So now we managed to make it possible for packages to opt in to this. So by default, we just have a schema file that references other schema files. We reference the official one from app settings. So you have IntelliSense for stuff like Kestrel and logging and so on. But if you add a package like I just did, I'll just try to build. We can see a new file is added here, a forms file. And if I go to the schema file, we can see the forms file is also added. So this happens when I install forms. And it is the package that knows about this file and can update this file. So the IntelliSense is equal to the version you have installed. So if I go here now and ask suggestions, I now can see forms and everything. So that's pretty cool. And also, very cool. Of course, available to all community packages. So we're really happy about this change.
Yeah, I think the point about things having IntelliSense for things that are not aligned with the CMS releases is just that's a huge win for everyone, I think.
Exactly.
So fantastic. Very, very nice. All right, I think that just about does it for this round. That was quite a few things that are either added in Umbraco 11 or alongside Umbraco 11. But I think it just goes to show that this is well worth an upgrade. And as Bjarke also mentioned before, we believe it's probably the easiest major upgrade ever. You'll most likely not notice that much when you upgrade it in the beginning. There might be a nice new login screen, a new package section, but other than that, before you start using new features, it is pretty much business as usual. That also goes for cloud. So if you've upgraded to Umbraco 10 it is pretty much the same process you follow. There's links to documentation on how to do that as well. And as we're mentioning cloud, it's also worth mentioning that for now, Umbraco 10 will be the default when you create new projects. But if you click the little drop down, you'll see Umbraco 11 is right there. So if you want to start on Umbraco 11 that is not LTS, then you can do that for sure. And that's just because it's easier to upgrade to a newer version than it is to downgrade to an earlier version. So just be aware of that. So the last thing is, of course, the list of contributors to Umbraco 11. As always, we go through all the wonderful people that have helped make this version, or at least submitted PRs, because we've had quite extensive release candidate period of 6 weeks. I think we're on release candidate 6. So there's been a number of iterations, and that's also based on feedback we've gotten from the testing period. So that's super valuable. But in terms of specific PRs, we have Bjarke Fürstenborg with 3 PRs, Blake Watt with 1 PR, Dan Booth the same, and finally Connie Hoskam with 1 PR as well. High five, you rock. I think the smallest list ever, but that also just goes to show that these major releases are not that big in scope. We keep those to the minor ones. But huge high five, you rock, and well done for contributing.
Exactly, high five, you rock. It's also worth mentioning that if you want to contribute to Umbraco 12, it's already possible. So a lot of these contributions came in just when we announced the release candidate, but you can already do it for the next major. It's just half a year away.
Yeah. So if you're looking at anything that might be a breaking change, you can target that towards 12 or help out with the new things that are coming in there. Awesome. Let's see. Last thing to mention is, as it is a major release, we've also done a major addition to the Umbraco Forest. So for every release, we plant trees depending on the number of PRs or the version number. And this time we did not go with the number of PRs. 3 trees is a little too little. So we've planted 1,100 trees for Umbraco 11. And that brings the Umbraco Forest to 17,016 trees. So quite a forest we've got going on here. And it's also worth noting that recently the Umbraco Together event was held in the UK, and the foundation behind the event has generously planted 1,000 trees there. So big high five, you rock, to Callum and all the other people running that event. That's really cool to see. And I think it's also worth mentioning that Matthew Wise planted 100 trees as well. So that's super cool. Thanks for that. But of course, this is part of one of the initiatives we're doing at Umbraco HQ to work towards becoming carbon neutral. So every little bit helps here. You can go to the ecology.com/Umbraco, and you can also donate trees to our forest there. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Congratulations on all the work. I know it's been a busy couple of months leading up to the release of Umbraco 11, both with the release itself, the block grid being postponed even a little bit. Well done, Niels, on that one, and Sofie for migrating docs and updating it to the new format and making sure that everything looks great and works great and is more discoverable. Looks fantastic. And of course, to the team that worked on the marketplace, everyone who contributed to that side of things. There's a lot of strings to pull together, but December 1st, Christmas came early, I think, this year. So, right. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to show us Umbraco 11, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.